Morning, everyone. I'd like to call the July 11th, 2025 City of Geneva IDA regular meeting to order. Call the July 11th, 2025.
Waiting room folks somehow.
There you go.
Good.
Yeah, I think we're all here now. Okay, we have called the meeting to order. First, I'd like to ask Amy to read the mission statement. It's a number of things that we're considering today. I think it's important for us to understand this, reiterate.
The Geneva IDA was created to promote, develop, encourage, and assist in acquiring, constructing, maintaining, equipping, and furnishing certain types of projects and facilities to advance the job opportunities, health, general prosperity, economic welfare, and recreation opportunities of the citizens of the city of Geneva.
Thank you. Thank you, Amy.
Mhm.
All right, first administrate any additions or deletions from the agenda. We all have it in front of us. All looks okay. Okay, no changes. We'll move on. The June minutes were in the packet also. Is there any, I need a motion to approve those, and if there's any changes or. I'll make the motion. RJ makes the motion, and Irene seconded it. Okay, thank you. Adam's financial report, are you gonna be?
I can give it to you. There has been really no change since your last report. If you had provided the balance sheet on this, so you're still saying your total assets and liabilities mirror up at 2.2 million. If there's questions, I can attempt to answer them, but Adam really did run this last report. So.
All right. Motion to approve that, the brief report. Any questions? Anything that sticks out? Like she said, there's no activity, so it's pretty much the same.
And next month you will adopt your next year budget because you're coming at the end of close of this year's fiscal year.
Do you know if in fact the audit has gone through?
It has not at this point. Adam has been until he was out on vacation. So Adam's been out since July 2nd. He will be back on Monday. He is now making daily phone calls and he may be reaching out to you, Stephen, to get the audit moving forward. They continue to say it's coming the next day and it has not come.
Who are the auditors?
It's a good question.
Is that MRB? Isn't it MRB?
No, it's I'll have to look it up. Yeah. And this is not the first year we've had this challenge. I feel like this has been at least the last 3 years with this group.
Yeah, but we can't actually vote on a pilot until we have the Paris, right? Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
And we have been in touch with Paris. They know what's going on. Everything will be, as soon as they have that final paperwork, it should move.
Okay. All right, let's go back to the motion to approve the June financial report.
Aye.
Thank you, Josh. Second. RJ. Right. Okay, the GDC, I see that, or I don't see that Craig is on the call. We did have a brief meeting, not too much change there. Also, same thing, I don't know if the sprinklers, they were shut off for some service. I don't know if they've been reconnected. There's a problem in the older building.
Mhm.
There's some leaks and they said they were working on it. There's also some issues with the kitchen that I think had some violations. I believe, I got a letter from Miles this week, I guess it was a few days ago, that said that they were on top of it and it should be resolved pretty soon. They're gonna have probably Mike Kelly, what's his name?
Brian Kelly.
Brian Kelly over there to lift the.
They'll be there today.
Yeah, okay, so that's all I know about the GDC right now. Yeah.
I would love a good tour of that building. I've been on this committee for a few months, but I haven't been in it since I went to photograph something years ago. And I'd really like to see it, especially because it's
always such a hot
Sure,
topic
sure.
for us.
I'm sure we can put together a field trip. I
Yeah,
mean, there's some areas of the building that I think would be interesting to actually get into, like the part that the city actually does for DPW.
yeah,
Amazing how big it is and how far back it goes
Yeah, yeah.
inside there and stuff, and how much was done to improve the space for their use.
that's great.
Um,
I did, of course, get to tour the, with Nicole, the part that's got to be torn down, which was really interesting.
yeah,
Yes, it was.
how's that coming with the stuff inside? No activity yet?
There's no activity, we're on hold. I'm waiting to hear about a grant from the state. So
Got it.
I can get some records shuffled around in the basement with their funding and help. So I have a place to put some.
Okay.
See if it's salvageable.
I think the bigger question is, it may not be salvageable and have to come down with the building.
Yeah, well,
Mhm.
Landfill,
Mm,
okay,
One thing, I also totally agree with Jan.
Great.
I would love to see it.
yeah, we should do that, since we are gonna have a brief discussion about kind of what we've been doing. The time inclusive thing and what's, kind of what the resolution of that property is. Talking about Webster, Properties, their contract is up in August, right? Is that the date? Yeah, so September 1st, I think.
Yeah, I think it goes with your fiscal year, so it's
So
not,
it's October 1st. then.
yeah, I believe it's October.
Okay. The executive committee and, well, per David West kind of parting comments about it, he thought it would be good to go to a month. So instead of extending the contract until we kind of have a clear vision of what we're going to do with the building and what the resolution would be. So I'm going to ask for a motion to to extend the existing contract on a month-to-month basis.
I'll make that motion.
Irene's made the motion.
And I have a couple questions on that.
Sure.
So if we convert to a month-to-month contract, I believe that would also imply that Webster could leave the contract at any time.
Correct.
If they do leave, is there any negative implication for the IDA or the building, should they choose that option? Is there a backup option for management or?
Not excellent.
Okay.
No.
You may want to add your contract discussion into executive session.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Okay.
So if you want to maybe table that for now and.
Yeah, we've got a few months here, obviously. I thought it was the end of August.
Okay.
That's why I was pushing it up a little bit, but it looks like we have another month, so we'll just table that. Okay, do you want us, so we're not gonna do the motion today. We will not vote on it today. So let's just,
And there was no second on
No,
it, so.
it's nothing.
all right, sounds good. The next agenda items. The Lakeview Loft pilot application, a report of the public hearing, which we had just last night. Stephen, you want to kind of do your synopsis of it for a few minutes?
Yeah, I think it was a lot of good input from the public. The kind of typical comments that you'd expect for, these types of projects. I think all comments, both for and against, are good with any type of project. So my view, nothing really out of the ordinary.
Okay. And Nicole, do we have, I mean, there were a number of statements, not just the oral ones, but written ones. Are they all online? Are they posted online? Because there was a comment made about last night saying that no one has heard anything good, and certainly there are a number of letters. I just don't know where they are. They're not in our minutes because we haven't read them here, but
So as far as letters and comments that come directly to the IDA,
well, there was letters of support that were sent in a couple weeks ago, that we had. I just want to know if they're posted anywhere, if there's any place that we could post. Does that make sense, Stephen?
Yeah, so what we'll do is, I have to contact the stenographer today to just get a sense of timing of when they'll have their transcript ready. And then my thought is, once we have that transcript, we can put that up as kind of the minutes of the public hearing up on the website. And then we'll also include all of those letters of support essentially at the end of that
Yeah, I mean, there's letters, both pros and cons.
Yeah.
Yes.
But,
Basically, all of that can be put right up.
okay,
And we'll make sure to, I think some of the ones you're referring to might have been planning board,
that's
There's-
correct. That's correct.
which are different than the IDA. So we have, I think, and we have a folder of IDA letters that
We
we've gotten in.
folder, but I don't have a lot, and I also don't know if, did the public note, the legal notice directed things to be emailed to Adam?
Yes,
So
so,
I don't have anything.
Yeah.
He hasn't sent me anything. If he does, then I can definitely compile, and when it's time, I'll
Yeah.
put on the website with the.
yeah, if we have a handful, I think that have
Yeah,
come in the
Yeah, we
last
have a
2
couple
days.
things that were given, like a couple of documents from last night too.
I think some of those letters of support were somewhat generic. I don't think they're necessarily, but I
Yeah,
thought they were actually addressed in Nicole.
yeah,
So-
we'll have to look at.
Because they might apply to both.
They may, but I think what we'll have to do is just make a determination on where they were headed. And then you,
That's,
for your due diligence, all of them are public. They're just in different
Right.
pockets of information.
Yeah, a lot
yeah,
of.
some of them were specific to the pilot, so I think that's,
Yeah.
make sure we collect all them.
All right.
Can I ask just a logistical question? This is probably clear to everyone, but I just want to clarify for myself at least. So when we make a decision on a pilot like this, are we judging the project as a whole or just the financial impact to the city? Or, where, because it seems like the planning board would have an
That's correct.
opinion on a facet of this.
Yep.
That's
And
correct.
then, others along the way. But when we look at it, are we looking strictly at the finance?
I think there is a lane that we're supposed to stay within. That is all of that, the financial viability of the project, make sure the paperwork is right, sorry, Josh is here. And make sure that, the numbers line up and that we have, and that we've done the cost benefit analysis and the justification for us giving the tax relief is a financial consideration. On the other hand, what we heard last night is the impact to the community.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which, maybe you could parse that for us, Stephen, because it's.
Yeah,
it is
so,
kind of a-
it seemed like last night, a lot of comments were a lot of, design, size, location stuff, which really is not within this board's purview. You don't have control over it.
Right.
What you do have control over is the proposed incentive package that they're requesting. So as Jan said, or as Ann said, really what this board is overseeing is the financial assistance. We're running the cost benefit analysis. Is it a qualified project? If it is, what does the proposed incentives look like? Is it something that this board wants to provide? So that's really what the kind of discussion should center around, as what are the incentives? Is it a qualified project? If it is a qualified project, are these the types of incentives that, is this the level of incentives that we want to provide? If so, then we just have to make sure that we follow the proper procedures to get to,
So,
Sorry.
But that being said, we can't ignore the impact to the community. I mean, isn't that part of the,
Yeah, I mean, all of that is
I
all
mean,
part of the holistic review of everything. But when it comes to,
the fit in all that, I agree.
Right.
And what the building looks like and
That's not us.
all of that is not, that is, another department.
yeah,
But as far as how, it's, the community accepts it.
Mhm.
Which is, a soft side of it, but we can't ignore that, right? I mean, we can't.
no, not technically. I always tell other IDAs that, again, you wanna make sure you essentially stay in your lane when it comes to certain aspects.
Correct.
Because in the past, we've had, not IDAs that we've represented, but have heard of other IDAs that have tried to strike down projects that was an otherwise qualified project.
Right.
And a day later, you got an Article 78 order. So
Right.
those are the things, that's why I say we wanna keep kind of separate silos as to what
What we're looking at.
exactly.
But when you say financial, I mean, this is speculation, looking forward in terms of the impact on businesses downtown, but we certainly heard that last night.
Well, and that's the whole purpose also of the cost benefit analysis. That's why New York State requires it. That's why you guys all essentially engaged MRB to conduct that analysis. So that, you know, you can look at it, sit there and say, I mean, if you go to a bank on a large commercial project, they're gonna require you to submit pro formas. It's a snapshot, or, you know, it's based off of certain assumptions and qualifications. So that's in the MRB model, just so there's a little bit of a comfort level here. An overwhelming majority of IDAs use MRB. So their model has been essentially accepted, adopted by New York State. New York State has signed off on, you know, what they've done. So they're very qualified. They go into the weeds on a lot of things. And what's nice about the MRB model is they don't just look at, okay, these are the proposed incentives. They're also, you know, based on their model, they're calculating, okay, we're gonna have X number of, you know, new people coming in. What's the impact, you know, or are these people gonna be purchasing goods and services, you know, throughout the community and so forth. So that whole model dives into that. And that's where you get that, you know, cost to benefit ratio, which I think based on their model was 5-1, I think.
5-1.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Well, that's what I was gonna ask, is that can we take a look at this cost benefit analysis, because it, I was getting a little bit lost. And I want to make sure that I understand, like, this building is coming in, we have these new people, they might need additional resources. So do we need to look at, this is the proposed pilot, do we need to look at an increase in the amount the pilot would be to make sure that we're covering our services? Which I didn't hear last
Talk
time.
about police and fire and whatnot, you know,
Exactly.
emergency services. But there was something in there.
Yeah, and remember, when it comes to, call it special district taxes and so forth, that does not get impacted whatsoever by the pilot. We cannot exempt, statutorily, IDAs cannot touch special district charges. So if there's fire, stuff like that, fire districts charges, none of that stuff is ever impacted.
Okay.
By IDA.
I think that we're setting a new precedent with this project moving forward. You know, the city of Geneva has made 30-year pilots before, has worked with other companies in a way that we have taken first offers and been like, yes, let's do this. But I think that we need to take a look at this, because we've got a number of other large housing, well, hopefully housing developments coming in, and we want to make sure that we're comfortable with it, so that we don't get hit with an Article 78 moving forward. If we make it, like, we don't want to make exceptions. We want to make some flat decisions. Am I wrong about this? Am I thinking about this the wrong way?
Just for clarity, what is Article 78?
It's essentially
Is that the one that we talked about last time?
Yeah.
Can I talk about this here?
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, it's really just it's mainly challenges to procedural. So
Okay.
for example,
Yep.
you know, if an IDA, for example, failed to hold a public hearing.
Okay.
And they just went through and ultimately approved the project. If you had to hold a public hearing according to the GML and you didn't do it, you can be subject to an Article 78.
Okay.
So that it's basically procedural.
Okay.
So as long as the procedure and the process is adhered to,
Mhm.
I mean, I can tell you this, you could sue somebody over basically anything. As to whether it's successful, that's a different question. So that's really the art. So
You have some financial questions?
So I have a handful, of course. But Catherine, were you done?
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to, I guess I want to make sure that I'm clear on our mission, and to make sure that we are looking at this in the right way, so that when we're moving forward, we are moving forward with the right approach to how we are looking at these larger complexes that we want to put into Geneva, right?
And that makes sense, because this is this group's first pilot that a lot of you have been a part of. We haven't had a pilot well, from start to finish since I've been here, so it's been over 3 years. We were closing up a pilot when I first came on. And then we didn't actually go forward with that one. So I think that's a piece. And you know that there's potential pending applications coming at you. So I think what you're suggesting is ensuring that we're managing the process the same every time. And that's part of the guardrails that I think both Stephen and I kind of have for you guys, is to make sure that you're following the procedural process. Each project will look different, and that's okay. The request for pilots will look different from different projects, and this IDA in the past has modified pilots based on projects. So you do have to look at that, and you also have to look at the overall picture. So you're tasked with both. And I think what we're tasked with is just giving you the procedure to get you through all of those questions.
One quick question on that. Last night, a comment was made, I forget by who. But they said something, and I need clarity on this too, but they said something about, not being against the project as a whole, but the actual location. So in other words, I believe it was referenced to where is this pilot that we're going to be voting on, this is subject to this exact location, correct? It's not, we're behind your Lakeview project as a pilot, but just not here. This is address specific.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay, all right. I just want to make sure because whoever, I can't remember who made that comment, but it sounded like they were saying, yeah, vote the pilot and just not downtown. So I just wanted to make clear that this is absolutely right. Okay, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to be sure. Thank you.
So just for, and I know we talked about this before, so our UTEP does allow for what's known as established or stabilized residential projects to receive a pilot legally. Okay, so this is not an exception.
Nope. So if you look at the GML, there's different types of what they define as qualified projects. There's mainly what this falls into is, and there's state comptroller opinions that define to this. These types of projects are considered, in the comptroller's view, commercial. It gets, there are some IDAs throughout New York State, which it's a little gray area. You get into a gray area when you're talking about single family homes, condos, where you essentially have home ownership. And now the question becomes, okay, developer just received this pilot. He's now selling the unit to, Joe Smith. Is that pilot now going to transfer over to Joe? So that's where, and I believe one individual said, well, why can't we just apply this to, everybody, and statutorily IDAs can't. This type of stuff, the multifamily, large scale apartment stuff like that, that's being done all throughout New York State, and has been essentially seen as a qualified project. So yeah, you're not deviating any.
And GML, just so everyone knows, is general municipal law.
Yeah, okay. Sorry about that.
Okay.
So then in line with that, a 30-year pilot on a residential project, that's also permissible under our current UTEP.
Yeah, so your UTEP essentially sets, and all IDAs throughout New York State are required to have a uniform tax exemption policy. That's really kind of the IDA's framework of how they're going to, review projects and the types of incentives and so forth. However, the general municipal law does permit, and I believe your UTEP speaks to this, it does permit IDAs to deviate from that UTEP so long as a certain procedure is adhered to. And what that would do, and in this case, this pilot request, because of the proposed term of 30 years, would be a deviation from the UTEP, but we made sure that in the public notice, we specified, this is a deviation, and all of those parameters were set forth in the public hearing. So that's sort of the process that you would have to follow if you were to approve a pilot that deviates from your UTEP. So there's just a couple added steps.
So technically a 30-year pilot is a deviation from our UTEP. We are making an exception via public notice.
Correct. And we technically had to notice this do a public hearing anyways.
Okay.
Because the proposed incentives are over $100,000. So any IDA project where the contemplated incentives exceed $100,000, you have to do a public hearing.
So in the responses that Lakeview sent to the questions that we sent them, they said that based on the funding that they're getting from New York State, they have to have the pilot for 30 to 50 years, right? They're obligated to this property for 50
Yeah,
years.
and that's not unique, especially when with like LIHTC deals, for example. Typically what you'll see and what, state and these, tax credits will require is there's a certain regulatory period as well in which, units, for example, have to remain affordable according to some AMI standard. So that's typically when you see the pilots are coterminous with that regulatory period. So that's essentially what you're seeing.
Thank you. And then when you said something along the lines of, as long as it's applied uniformly, so if we're setting a precedent for one project, would that imply legally that we would have to apply those same terms to other pilots?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope. Each pilot is essentially case by case.
Okay.
We have negotiated pilots where the developer comes in, says, we need this. We come back and say, that's, we see it differently, or, we have to kind of tailor this a little bit tighter, and there's a resubmittal of a restacking of that formula our template. Even the percentages, we have that template is kind of progressive. We've swapped that around where someone said, well, I've got the financing set this way. Can we balloon it after the first year or something like that? It is a negotiation. It is a template, and we try to stay within it, certainly. But where we haven't felt that the need was justified, we've reduced it. There's been some other ones that and there've been smaller pilots that have been a little bit higher percentage. 50% is our target over the 15 years. But we've done them as low as 40, and I think 56, we did one, at least in my tenure, but they all hover around that, and it's based on the financial information that's provided, the cost benefit, all of those things that we're trying to do. So I think there is a procedure. It's just like Amy said, we haven't done it very often. So it's good to understand it, all of us to understand it clearly and stay in our lane, as Stephen's saying.
So for 30-year pilots, last meeting, it was stated that we believe we have done a 30-year pilot before. Is that?
We've renewed, the Ramada has been renewed. Guardian has been renewed. I believe they started as 15 years and we gave them another 15, but they had to reapply and all that.
So the initial term was 15 years, but we renewed a pilot for an additional 15 years.
That's what I recall.
So the initial pilot is actually 15.
It was.
So we've never issued a 30-year pilot before.
I don't know. We may have.
I feel like we have for something downtown. I know that I've looked at.
Yeah, we may have. We have a list of the pilots that are in place. There's only 7 or 8 right now.
Okay.
Pilots that are in place, and some of them are very old. Some of them are ready to term out. I think the Ramada had to do with the sale of the property. There was a change of ownership or something, and Guardian was because they were making a huge investment in the facility at the time. They could justify it, with that investment. So, but historically, I don't know. Obviously the IDA has been around since the 90s. So I'm not sure exactly what's happened before.
I think
And for everyone's comfort as well, maybe, whether a 30-year pilot is the first of its kind in Geneva, I can assure you, just last year, I think we've done 15 in New York State. So it's not uncommon, especially when you have regulatory periods that essentially they're asking to run coterminous with that.
I do believe this is the first pilot we've done on a residential. Or commercial resident, apartments. At least I haven't.
So you have, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10,
For any sort of mixed
13
use,
pilots currently.
Currently,
15, you said?
Not important.
there's a list I just, this list. I sent
And
out.
Geneva Lakefront Hotel is in year 27 of 30. We also have Lyceum Heights 1, 2, and 3. So you have the housing authority pilots as well.
Okay,
That's what's involved. And Lakes Edge Development Corporation is a 20-year pilot, so. There are definitely different terms.
So just jump in real quick. So I definitely, this is a very unique project, obviously, and I was definitely concerned about what our role was and what we should be considering. And interestingly, back in 2022, we did adopt a uniform project evaluation policy. And I went back and looked at that. And obviously, that includes the CBA and the financials and all that. But the first bullet point on here, the last part does say that we should be taking into consideration all of the local development priorities. So that does kind of cover, in my mind, more than just the financial piece. I just wanted to put that out there. As a whole.
and things like the comprehensive plan.
Right.
And how does that fit into
In our
what we
economic
decided, even though the comprehensive plan is now, the current one is what, 8, 9 years old, something like that.
2016, so yeah.
We did just adopt an economic development plan as well, and
Well, and there's some statements in the comp plan that talks about, what the city needs. And it's all open to interpretation.
I know.
You could look at it this way or that way, but there is a clear direction to try to increase the critical capacity inside the city. That's we need critical mass. Anyway, any other comments? You have more to go.
If
Okay.
anyone has anything, say it, because I'm just letting you know, cut me off. So, just to reiterate, the need for a 30-year pilot for the proposed development. Can we just recap that one? Because this is now, the conversation is now moving forward to some degree. What is the need for a 30-year pilot for this development? Why are they requesting a 30-year pilot versus a 20-year pilot versus a 15-year pilot in their application?
And they are online.
Yeah.
Whitney or Kathy, you want to field that? Did you hear Josh's question about the need for the 30-year?
Sure. And thanks everyone for the time. Whitney Clary from CSD Housing. We are the development consultants for this project, and I'm mainly responding to the list of questions received. So I thought there were a lot of questions, and I'm happy that we're able to provide some answers there. As far as the request for 30 years, I think it was Stephen who talked about the regulatory agreement that we're signing up with the state to keep the rents at a certain AMI. These projects are part of a competitive landscape, so there will be an RFP in which the state will release, likely in the next month or so, in which projects from across the state will be applying for tax credits, which will be equity coming in to build these types of projects. And so part of it is, as Stephen said, across the state, many IDAs are granting 30-year pilots, and those projects are viewed a little bit more competitively from the state. And additionally, we know that our income is capped. We can't, there are year-over-year increases based on inflation, but because of that, it just gives the project more assurance that we know we can calculate and know exactly what our property taxes will be, and we can try to adjust, our insurance and other expenses for the project. So it just really helps create assurance for the project, the financial viability of knowing that, property taxes will be one of the biggest expenses. So knowing that it is calculated and we have a 30-year period of knowing exactly what it is a benefit to the project financially, but also competitively as we apply for these tax credits, which for everyone's, edification, these projects, probably about 1/3 of them actually receive tax credits each round. So it's extremely competitive. So although, planning board and getting entitlements and getting a pilot and all of our other due diligence lines us up to create an application, we are very much going to be in a place where we likely won't know if we have a way forward, probably until sometime early next year, Q1 of next year. So over that answer your question, I try to provide a little bit more context beyond that, but those are some of the reasons.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. So what it sounds like is the proposal for a 30-year pilot is to make their application to the state to receive funding more competitive.
Correct.
For them to receive funding for their development.
Correct.
And just, I think the bigger piece is if you look at, the cash flow of these projects, the reason why these projects require pilots is because our income is capped. If we were a market rate project, we would be able to charge, $3 a square foot, and rent could be $3,000. And as market went up or down, we could adjust appropriately. Because our income is capped, we would have negative cash flow if we had the full burden of the property tax. And so every single affordable project throughout the state, throughout the country, every state has, in New York State, it's Homes and Community Renewal, which is the allocating agency, but every state has a group that takes the federal tax credits and allocates them to projects that they deem will have the most positive benefit. So if you just look at that cash flow pro forma, we're agreeing to cap our rent, so we're capping our income, and that's why that all these projects rely on these pilots. There is a path forward, and I won't go into much detail, but there's a state law 581A in which we can have a path toward tax abatement to lower our property assessment through state law as well. We've chose to work with the IDA in the past, and hopefully we can here, because with the 581A, it's renewed every year, so it does add like a lot of legal fees and things, but there is a path forward outside of the pilot that the IDA can grant for us to get tax abatement, because the state recognizes that, again, a property that's agreeing to provide low to moderate income housing should not be under the same tax burden as a property that has kind of, I'm gonna say, unlimited cash flow, but does not have the restrictive rents placed on the project.
Okay, thank you so much. And I don't know, maybe this is a question both for you, but also Stephen. The 581, it's based off of the income and expenses associated with the property, and that's how the tax burden on the property is determined. Correct. And it's renewed annually. And so the reason, just to confirm, the reason why that's not necessarily the desired path forward for Lakeview is because the associated legal fees.
And I'll also say the IDA fee that's part of this, I think it's 1%. I think I forget the exact calculation, but that also or potentially making a condition or pushing us to hire local labor and things like that. Those are we view that as something that we want to partner with you guys on, that, this is your community. And so if we did go 581A, the IDA would not receive those fees. There might not be those kind of local labor standards that you guys might make a condition. So yeah, it's the annual process and legal fees is part of it, but I think more so it's, hey, we want to be a partner within the community, and we want to be a partner with this IDA board, and we are not able to do that if we aren't able to strike a pilot agreement.
Okay. And the 581 would go straight to the state. The IDA wouldn't have anything to do with that. Correct. Okay. Thank you so much.
Any other questions or comments about what we learned last night in conjunction? I mean, I think there's some, we'll try to provide some more information, but we should try to be prepared to at least have a preliminary vote next month. I mean, it gives us a month to look at all the documents we have. If there's any questions, we can probably field them, just, email back and forth. We can certainly send copies to Stephen. He'll respond to everyone on the board, so we can kind of do this and maybe continue this discussion next month. You have a few more
I do have
questions?
some more, yeah.
Okay,
And so this is, did you ask?
I had a quick one, but you go first because mine is like, yeah,
So I wanna, are you sure?
yeah,
Sorry, I'm stuck on the
you may cover it.
So, the cost benefit analysis is available to the public, right?
Yep.
yes, it's,
It's all on the website.
Okay, so in here, I did notice that, the local construction spending is stated at $3.819 million. However, in accordance with the application given us to Lakeview, they stated it's 10% of materials and labor of the project, which is approximately $2.569 million versus the 3.819 currently presented. So that may need to be an adjustment to the cost benefit analysis. I didn't see any sort of adjustment in the cost benefit analysis associated with the potential decrease in downtown parking, which will potentially directly impact our small businesses' top line revenues. So I'm just curious, was that included in the CBA? Because I didn't see a breakout for that.
I would have to discuss this further with MRB because they compiled
Okay.
the entire document. And so
Okay.
any of those kinds of questions,
Okay.
give them to me and I will make sure that they are put into the consideration.
That's a number.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because that is, that's definitely one that we would have because, you know, you can look at each parking spot kind of having a level of revenue generation for downtown businesses, which directly feeds into a potential cost benefit analysis, meaning that the current cost benefit analysis could be inflated compared to the real cost benefit of the proposed project. Additionally, and this could have been in there too, and maybe we direct this to MRB, but I didn't see any assumptions for fire and safety or public safety potential increases. Were those in there by chance?
I will pull it out so you can see it, but MRB,
Okay,
I'll get all those responses.
Okay.
At them.
because in the cost benefit analysis, what we're essentially seeing on a tax basis. I don't know what page it is, but essentially states that in 2029, the property without the pilot is going to generate tax revenue of $39,480 to the city of Geneva. With the pilot, it is estimated that it will generate $49,950, so approximately $10,500. So there is potential for the city of Geneva to incur costs greater than the benefit of this pilot, which then therefore needs to be directly fed into the cost benefit analysis.
good point. I'm not sure if there's a way to determine that.
No, but I can look at their different models because this question comes up, I'm sure, more than just here. So I'll look and talk more with Tracy on. If that
That
is.
was what I was trying to ask earlier.
This is why they let you ask all the questions, Josh.
I don't want to be coming.
We do have to move on. I
Yes,
don't want,
I'm actually-
I don't wanna, we do have an
I have a
executive-
really quick one that doesn't even relate to this board. How's that for extended?
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I am just curious whether there would be a consideration by Lakeview to relocate the project somewhere else in Geneva. And one place that comes to mind that's available and partially torn apart already is the former Medias. I mean, it would be more in a neighborhood. It's.
Wait a minute, that's really close to,
All right, let's stick with.
it's real close to where I live. I don't want.
Yeah.
Watch out, watch out.
Kathy, do you want to address that about, Jan had a question about another location.
Can I piggyback on that real quick too? Because my other thought in that same realm was besides location, partnering with maybe another developer. The one letter that you guys sent in talked about maybe bringing it down to 20% supportive housing. So is there the opportunity to partner with somebody else to equalize that ratio a little bit with some market rent, high-end housing, other things?
Kathy, you're still,
Send you all my questions.
you're muted. There you are. Okay.
Yep, and bear with me, I've got a terrible connection, so I'll try to, I'll answer the question the best I can. We have looked at other properties. Now, that doesn't mean I am aware of every property that's located in Geneva. So certainly we are open, and I have had individuals reach out to us with other opportunities. But for right now, we're seeing this through and appreciate the process and the feedback we're getting from the community and both the planning and zoning boards, and of course you.
Thank you.
Satisfied with a partnership with another? No.
We can have a more conversation.
There is an issue of the zoning, you know.
Right, but that exists where they are
CB
now.
Yeah, the CB5 is in that area.
Mhm.
And it's not that large. If you look at the zoning map, it, you know, like on the other side of Main Street, it would not be,
Mhm.
you know, so Media's right now wouldn't qualify for a building that large. But, I mean, to go for a variance and all that. stuff,
Right,
I mean, it's
Yeah.
more complications. Anyway, I'd like to move on. So Stephen.
Quick, going back to the CBA, the more I think about it, it may be beneficial at one of these meetings to have a rep from MRB.
That's what I was
To just
thinking.
kind of walk us through the model as their
Yep.
inputs.
Tracy to Tracy.
And that way.
Yeah, well, Tracy and some staff, so
Okay.
I'll ask them to attend.
Okay. Yeah, we have time on this. I mean, this.
When is their application due? When are they?
The applications have not been announced yet.
Oh, okay.
But as Whitney said, they could come at any time and are due before the end of the year traditionally. HCR always releases them kind of this time frame. I don't know, Whitney or Kathy, if you have. I recently talked to Lenny and he gave me no clue on when, but maybe you guys have.
Yeah, well, like you said, usually late summer, do sometime in the fall, but yeah, it's, you try to do all you can to be prepared for them, but and I guess going back and just talk a little bit about the site itself. You know, we feel very confident that this site works. Lakeview has done 4 other projects in other communities, and we definitely took our time. I think their last project was completed in 2021. They're here in Lakeview. They've always wanted to do a project here, and so they definitely took their time to find the site. We've had this property under site control since November, and have been doing due diligence since then. But yeah, we're confident that the type of projects that Lakeview does and that we've been a part of, we've done over 31 projects throughout the state, in Queens, Brooklyn. We're based in Rochester and places like Saratoga Springs, Boston Spa. Every city is different, every city is unique, but we appreciate the opportunity to potentially look at other sites. But as Kathy said, we feel confident in the model that we presented, the design we presented, and the economics behind the project, and we want to pursue this one as much as we can. But we do appreciate the feedback that there might be other sites, and there are actually other developers looking at other sites as well. So, but thank you.
Okay. Everyone okay to move on? If you have everyone has questions or kind of as you mull over this, just post it all this, and Stephen, make sure Stephen's on there. If there's something that you want to chime in on, we'd appreciate your input. Okay.
Hey, and should Kathy and I drop?
What was that, Lenny?
Can you drop off the call?
Yeah, I think, yeah, we're moving on now. Okay.
Okay, thanks so much for the time.
Thank you both.
Thank
for
you.
joining. Yeah, bye now.
Bye-bye.
Okay, the GDC committee, we did have not just, we had the July 1st meeting, everyone was there, which was appreciated. We got some good, it was a good presentation, gave us some things to think about. Problem is, the timing was kind of skewed. I mean, we have quite a few other things that we're thinking about right now. If anyone has some comments about the presentation and kind of understanding maybe if it helped us at all, or if it's just added to the confusion. Irene?
I just wanted to clarify that I was misremembering David's email, and that so the contract expires September 30th, just for confirmation. But he had said that we might consider doing like a shorter term, like 6 to 1 year. And then I looked at the contract too, and both parties have a 30-day
Cancellation.
notice at any time for any reason.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we're gonna talk about that later.
Oh, we'll We can go to the month to month. I think what,
If they, but I don't even know what they want to do. They may not be
yeah,
amenable to that, so.
I think, yeah, I didn't get any indication that they're, looking to leave. I mean,
Right.
any of our meetings with them, but the point is like, it'd be nice for us to have like a game plan before we recommit to another contract with the managing company. And we don't have that game plan, as far as I'm concerned. And we've got good information about what we can do. One of the things that I wanted to bring up, and it's been shut down, is the second round of the DRI. If in fact that building would, it's not technically right downtown, but it's not that far. I mean, I could walk between there and downtown. And I know you have plans for DRI for other parts of but.
There are no plans on where the DRI will go. It had to be community driven.
Okay, well, here we go. I'm community.
And it cannot overlap with significantly, we've got to say significantly overlap with previous DRI. Which being the first round DRI, I will say we probably drew that map a little too big because it is a very large swath of DRI, but it's not, GDC is not in that map. So it is something that can be considered. DRI would, I think we have to get the new council on board before we start having DRI planning meetings. So this is a 27 application timeline.
Okay, which, yeah,
So why DRI versus New York Forward?
versus who?
New York Forward, if we're looking for grants for revitalization down at the GEC, and I'm just asking because I have no idea.
I don't have no idea.
Okay.
No, I mean, I think
New York Forward, smaller pocket, and you don't usually get both.
the consultants, the CNS, she actually, Christine, whatever, she suggested that. She said, now you understand you got the first round, you're eligible for a second round. This would be a great applicant, and she was suggesting things like, solar panels on the roof and replacing the heating system and doing mechanical upgrades to the existing building and she wasn't, I don't know that she actually said taking down the parts that we need to take down, but she said it was a good candidate and I'm just kind of, following through on that. We do have a need. I think it would help the city with the economic development, and there's some things that we would have to really, whether it should be an incubator or how we want to manage that, has to do with the hire. The assistant city manager will have purview over this, and do we hire someone to manage? That was one of the things that David was advocating right at the end of his stay here, was we're paying this management company, we should probably hire someone. That's what Tom Mancuso was saying in his presentation. We should actually have someone who's an IDA employee, if you will. I don't know if that's legal, but how we would manage it and then make it a true economic engine, not just a place to get, warehouse cheap, actually utilize it. That's really within our mission, if we want to do it. I'm not advocating we should. I'm just saying that's a decision. Do we want to actually start to use this underutilized asset as part of our mission to advance, small businesses? Tom gave us a kind of a path of what he would recommend. And basically, I'm sure you heard this. He said, if you don't do this, you just tear it down, because what you're doing isn't going to get there. And a part of it's fine, where the kitchen is, that's fine. But he said, get rid of the rest of it. And does that suit our mission to do that? If not, then we need money.
And I think the other question too, when you talk about staffing, and I know David and I had some conversations about this, you contract with the city to provide staffing for the IDA.
Right.
Is that a contract and a path forward that you want to continue to do, or is there a different path? Is there a different way? And that's bigger than just the GEDC funding model, but IDAs do this all sorts of different ways. There are some that are standalone entities that have their own executive director. Now, usually they have a lot more funding coming in. You don't have monthly reports of no activity.
And they're bigger jurisdictions too. I mean,
right. Yeah. There are some smaller IDAs that have part-time staffing. But I think that's a piece of probably this bigger discussion on what is that strategy for this IDA going forward.
Exactly.
And what is the strategy with the city?
So let's put that in our thinking caps.
Well, I also heard Tom say, so yeah, I agree, it was either all in, like, all in or tear down, right? Like those are the two
Or partial tear down, right?
that we come up with, right? Yeah, at least, maybe if we take some down, then we have some, that we salvage and sell. But I also heard him say that if we were gonna go the route of all in, that it would make sense to set up a separate entity
Correct.
for the GEDC, and I don't know if that would be like underneath the IDA or completely separate, but I just want to, like, that may.
Part of what he was saying is there should be, like, and it could be a consortium of folks that are involved, possibly the town, possibly, the Cornell, in the downtown, BID, and, I mean, there should be a development hub that answers all the questions instead of it.
Not
Necessarily, right, and that their full thing was to manage property, But again, those are questions that we need to discuss and talk about. So what I'm suggesting is we're not tabling this. This is still an active discussion, but we do have other things on our plate right now that we have to kind of come to fruition. I would like to go into so let's keep the GDC on the agenda.
You may want to, and I don't, as I'm saying this, I have to be also aware that Adam and I and our city roles are in budget season. So I
Yeah,
know
bad time
the
for you.
next 2 months are going to be a lot more chaotic. But I think maybe what you need to do is have a GEDC meeting.
Yeah.
Just map all of this out, and you do have that September 30th Webster deadline. So maybe finding an hour or two, and I can help coordinate that, where we can just dive into
I like
that
that.
and start to make your next steps. Otherwise, you're gonna continue to have this small discussion,
Yeah.
and it's gonna take longer.
10 minutes at a time. So if you want to do a Survey Monkey, we could set up a Zoom call. We don't have to necessarily be face to face.
On that note, I was also thinking the same thing for the CBA discussion with MRB, like that might be good to do, set aside an hour. That we can all jump on Zoom and I think
let's
chat
talk
it
about
out.
Would that have to be public?
If there was a quorum, yes.
Yep.
The way you could do it is if not everybody was available at one time, depending on MRB's availability as well, if you just scheduled off a couple blocks where, 2 board members could attend at, time. So it's gonna depend on everyone's availability as well as.
Private discussion type thing?
So if you wanna just do the full board, which I think is gonna be more beneficial, and everyone can kind of hear questions that each other are asking, you would wanna
Yeah, we should
call
probably,
an actual meeting.
and then put the 10-day notice and all that, right?
Yep,
Yeah, okay.
same with your GEDC, if you're gonna have a quorum, it's gonna be a public meeting, so we'll have to do the notice.
Okay. All right, I guess, geez,
Ariane.
okay. You have no idea how this restricts what I really want to say.
With that, she wants to go into executive session.
Okay, with that, we're going to, we'd like so yes, we need to round about how we gotta fit in these, and I know it's summer hours and people are not all around and all that, but we need to, I think, keep moving forward. And, so Amy, if you have a few minutes in between your busy schedule to kind of make some suggestions for these meetings. And
Yeah,
whether or not it should be in person or if we can just Zoom it or whatever, all right? I would like a motion to go into an executive session to enter executive session to discuss sale, lease, or real property held by the IDA. Josh, seconded by Catherine. Would I have you to leave? Thank you.
and
I gotta get off of YouTube.
yeah, staff do have the room at 10 a.m. So,
Okay.
Yeah, we'll do this. This is a quick list.
Mr. Sharman's going away party, which